Spar. I'm president of the Florida Education Association. I want to thank everyone for coming today. Today we are celebrating reading. We are celebrating books. We are celebrating the excitement of having a new book. For some, the first time they've ever had a new book. We all know that 50% of third graders in the state of Florida do not read on grade level. And the number one reason that children do not read on grade level is because of a lack of access to books. And what we've been seeing happen throughout Florida, unfortunately, is the removal of some books from the schools. Books that often connect to kids, that excite them. As adults, we know when we go and buy a book at a bookstore, we look for books that connect to us, that we're interested in. If we want to read books about travel, we go to the travel section. If we want to read about murder mysteries, we go to the murder mystery section. We pick up a book and we look at the back of it and read the back of the book to determine the content. And if it's going to be something that we are excited about, something that we are connected to. But for too many of our students, they don't have that opportunity. They don't have the opportunity to have a new book, let alone a book that they see themselves in. A book that excites them, that has their interest. We need books in our schools that are by diverse authors, books that are about diverse topics. And so today, we are going to have some great speakers, some national speakers, some authors, some local speakers who are going to talk about reading and about books. And then right behind us, or in front of me, but behind you, we're going to give out 25,000 books. 25,000 books to families and to kids and to young adults in this community. Books that they can use to create their own personal library. Brand new books with the support of First Book and Simon & Schuster and a whole bunch of volunteers who work in our schools or care about our schools, and even some kids who help set this all up, because that's what it's about. Reading should be part of our community. It should be encouraged in our community, and it should be something that connects us in our community. So I'm going to now invite up the Superintendent of Schools for Leon County, Mr. Rocky Hanna.
Thank you, Andrew. I see Michael Monroe in the back saying turn up the volume. Hopefully you all can hear us in the back. I honestly had not planned on speaking this afternoon. Andrew said we'd like to say a few words, and I thought about it. I said usually when I get up and say a few words, I get in trouble by the people behind me, so I have to be really careful what I say. But having said that, I would like to say anything I do say in the next few minutes are my personal views and not the views of the Leon County School District or members of the Leon County School Board. So let's be very, very clear about that. But like Andrew, I just want to say thank you all for being here. I'm a lifelong resident of Tallahassee and Leon County. I'm a product of our public schools. This is my 35th year with the Leon County School District. I started as a classroom teacher for the first 12 years, and my wife, who was a middle school teacher for the last 28 years, as she said in 1997, I turned to the dark side and became a school administrator. Not because I didn't love what I was doing in the classroom, it was just hard for the two of us to survive financially on just over $30,000 a year of combined income. Like Andrew also said, fundamental is the key to success in our children's lives. Reading truly is fundamental. I see some of our elementary school teachers here today that are truly doing the heavy lifting in the Lord's work, as my cousin Lisa would say, each and every day with our children. We're very, very appreciative. So today we have a chance to give out books to our children. I do not think they have to go through our media specialist in order to be cataloged. The parents and the Parents' Bill of Rights can choose books as they desire in the free state of Florida. But it's just what's happening in the building behind me is very concerning, to say the least. It's very disappointing that we have now pitted parents against teachers, and for so long we have worked together where the parent and the teacher were supportive of the child, and now unfortunately we find ourselves in a different time, in a different dawn, in a different day. But it is incumbent upon us to stick together and to work together. And I promise you, my wife, Christy, is a member of the local teachers union of LCTA. I know Scott Mazer is here, that we want to continue to work with our classroom teachers and our teachers union to do what's right for you, and more importantly, what's right for the children we serve, not only in Leon County, but in the state of Florida. So, Andrew, to you and the authors that are here today, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You could be doing a lot of things during spring break, but you're here. You're here because you care about our state, you care about our community, more important, you care about our children. And for that, I am very grateful. So thank you again for having me today, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And I'll just add, I've been talking to teachers here in Leon County and across the state. And as I talk to teachers, I ask them one question. How many parents have said something about the books you have in your classroom? And I have yet to find a teacher who said a parent has complained about a book in the classroom. In fact, I talked to one teacher who had over 1,000 books in her classroom, and she'd been teaching for 40 years. And she said, never in 40 years did I have a parent question books in my classroom. And parents know what books are in the classroom because kids take them home. They read to their parents. That's often an assignment in elementary school, is for kids to read to their parents, to their grandparents, to their aunts, to their uncles, to their neighbors. And so here's the little secret that some people like to ignore. The teachers and staff and administrators in our schools are trained professionals. They are trained. They know how to pick the right book. They know books that interest their kids. They know books that are academically appropriate and age appropriate and content appropriate. And that's why the real hoax in Florida is this idea that there are some nefarious things going on in our public schools. That's the real hoax. So let me introduce our next speaker. Alicia Walker is an author. Williams. What did I say? Whoa, sorry.
I know she's trying to get me married.
Yes. Alicia Williams. Alicia Williams is an author. She's had a rich and varied career before she became an award-winning author. She's been involved in theater, in comedy. We need some comic relief in Florida. She's been involved in teaching, and even in the air, she was a flight attendant. She grew up in Detroit, Michigan. She attended the University of Kentucky, majoring in African American Studies. I think we should point that out. After she received her bachelor's degree, she went to New York City, where she trained in theater and performing in plays, commercials, sketch comedy, and stand-up comedy. Wanting a change, she moved back to Detroit, where she did take a job as a flight attendant. She has a daughter, Nyla, and she also started, after she returned home, she started working with theaters and writing. And it was ultimately through her writing, she wrote one-woman historical shows. And it was through her writing that ultimately led her to writing her first book in 2015, which was published in 2019 with wide praise. The book, Genesis Begins Again, won the Newbery Honor and the Coretta Scott King Jr. Steptoe Award for New Talent. Was also a finalist for the William C. Morris Award and the Kirkus Prize for Young Readers Literature. So without further ado, Alicia Williams.
Who wrote that? Like, you did some research. I was like, that sounds so impressive. Thank you. I just want to talk to you today. First of all, thank you for having me here. This is a beautiful event. I feel the same way. as you as an educator, being an educator myself, as you wanting to fill the book deserts. But what I really want to share with you, I want you to imagine a little girl who was bullied and fat shamed and color shamed, who moved around a lot because she couldn't make a lot of friends. She was poor, she was awkward, she was an introvert, and her family, well, they had a lot of problems. But this little girl, she found solace in books. I remember, now this little girl would find a bookmobile. I don't know, the little ones may not know the bookmobile. Thank you for the bookmobile. And she would climb those steps of the bookmobile and find touch the little covers and pull out the books. And maybe the librarian on that bookmobile offered some books to her. But she would sit in the little nook of the corner and on a little pillow, and she would get lost in time and space until the librarian said it's time to go. She lost the moment that she was bullied. She forgot about the times that her families were arguing and moving because that book saved her life. Now these books, some of them, they made her laugh. Some of them took her to Mars. Some of these books made her sad and want to cry, and some of them downright made her angry. But would you pull that book away from that little girl because they made her angry? No one deserves to read a book that makes them angry. You know what? No, because I was that little girl. I read books more and more, books that entertained me, books that opened up my mind, books that I didn't understand and confused me and made me curious, but books that made me feel like I wasn't alone in this struggle, that I can be seen. And we're in a fight of our lives because if someone took that book away, I would have never read Blubber by Judy Blume. And because of my fat shaming that, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that's dealing with being bullied. I would have never learned about how to relationship with friends and how to navigate friends if I didn't read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I would have never learned that everything will be okay had I not read I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Some of these books, maybe all of these books, are taken off the shelves because they're too uncomfortable. They make someone feel bad about themselves. They make, you know what? Children shouldn't learn about these topics. Had I not learned about these topics from a book because adults in my life were unable to have these tough conversations, where would I be? Where would our kids be if someone pulls a book because it makes one person uncomfortable? But what about that child or those whole group of children who need those books, who says, hey, they don't make me uncomfortable, they make me seen. That's why I stand here. That's why I'm so honored to be here. That's why I'm so honored to have teachers who are here giving up time to say, I'm going to save somebody's life. Because that little girl, Alicia, if we took those books away from her, she would not be here telling those stories that someone needs to read. And I thank you. I see you, I appreciate you, and I fight along with you. As long as you fight, I will write these stories. We're in this together. Thank you.
Wow, very powerful, Alicia. Thank you. So next up, I'm going to have the NEA, National Education Association Secretary-Treasurer, Noel Candelaria. Noel Candelaria is a special education teacher and former teacher's aide from El Paso, Texas. He is a first-generation son of Mexican immigrants who instilled within him the value of a quality public education. As a result, Noel learned firsthand about the transformative power of public education and how the influence of one educator knows no limits. And that, when woven together, the two form a direct pathway toward the American dream. Elected amid the COVID pandemic, Noel is the former president of the Texas State Teachers Association. Before that, he served 3 years as the Texas State Teachers Association vice president. And prior to that, he was president of the Isleta Teachers Association in El Paso, Texas. Noel has had leadership positions at the National Council of State Education Associations, as well as the National Teacher Hall of Fame. He's a tireless advocate for educators and students who often is joined in his activist work by his wife, Patty, a nationally board certified teacher. Noel believes in the value and power of relationships that are based on trust, whether they are formed in the classroom, the community, or the halls of political power. Noel relies on those relationships at the local, state, and national level to keep the doors of success open and accessible to every student. Noel.
Thank you, Andrew, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you all for being here this afternoon. As the Secretary-Treasurer of the National Education Association, it brings me a great pleasure and honor to be here and represent our 3 million members across the nation. And I'm honored to be here to support especially our union family, nuestra familia sindical of the Florida Education Association and your students. As NEA, we are proud to stand with FEA and affirm our commitment to fighting back against censorship and book banning. American novelist and screenwriter Stephen Chbosky once said, and I quote, "Banning books gives us silence when we need speech. It closes our ears when we need to listen. It makes us blind when we need sight." See, for generations, students from our most marginalized communities have all read books or have been prevented from reading books that did not center in their own personal experience. Students like myself and those that you see across this street need to be able to see themselves represented in everything they read. They need to see themselves affirmed. And they should never have to call into question the importance of who they are, what their experience is, or where they come from because of their absence in books or because of banning those books. See, when this happens, everyone loses. See, but when we honor the history and the experience of all students, we send them the most important message that they can receive. We let them know that you are not alone. Yes. We let them know that we see you. We let them know that we hear you. And we let them know that, yes, even your story matters. See, educators, we chose this profession because we care about students. It is why I became a teacher, because I wanted to give back to the community that gave so much to me. We care about each and every one of their experiences, and as educators, we care about truth. See, efforts to ban books is the opposite of caring. It is not caring. It is insensitive. It is demoralizing, and it is contributing to the shortage of educators in this nation, and it's only getting worse. See, as educators, we must be able to exercise our professionalism and our professional judgment on how best to present that uncomfortable material. We must be able to do this without endangering our jobs by being threatened or confronted with civil or criminal prosecution. We must We must let educators educate and do what they do best, which is teach, teach, teach our children in our communities. You see, history is our greatest teacher. We know that democracies fail when educational systems that are designed to create critical thinkers and socially responsible citizens collapse. That is where we are headed if we continue to allow truth and honesty in education to be up for grabs. See, banning books, banning books does not protect our students. It does not protect my own children. It does just the opposite. It weaponizes hate, and it arms them with the incorrect information about the experiences of their fellow students. And it provides an incomplete picture of an imperfect nation. See, as a high school student myself, a high school that was 95% Hispanic, I had the privilege to walk into Mrs. Johnson's 9th grade classroom. On her first day of class, she asked us to read the title of the book, which, pretty easy, U.S. history. Not that hard. But after a classmate read the title of the book out loud, she said to the whole class, the correct title of that book is U.S. His Story. She went on to say that in her class, this was going to be a reference book, because in her class, we were going to not just learn about his story, we were going to learn about her story, we were going to learn about their story, but most importantly, you were going to learn about your story. She stated that the beauty of this nation and what makes this nation great is the story of all of us, which includes each and every one of you. It was because of her class that I learned about my story and the story of my beautiful ancestors, starting with my own parents and their parents and their parents. And personally, I want each and everyone here that's in this space and watching and listening, I want you all to know about my Mexican heritage and its indigenous roots. I want everyone to know that I am the first generation son of Mexican immigrants, Roberto and Graciela Candelaria. I want people to know the journey of my parents and their parents. I want people to know the struggles and the triumphs that my ancestors went through for me to be where I am today. See, my voice matters. My story matters. And how I got here matters. And this is the same for black children, Asian children, gay children, trans children, immigrant children, and poor children. All of their stories matter to us. They matter to their classmates, and they matter to this nation. See, banning books not only closes minds, but it also cultivates the seeds of intolerance and perpetuates that same racial, ethnic, and gender fault lines that continue to divide us as a nation. We've all heard the often repeated phrase that people who don't learn about the past are doomed to repeat it. Well, if your Florida governor continues at this pace and other governors across the nation follow in that same reckless path, our nation will get closer and closer to becoming that reality. See, together, let's continue to fight for the experiences of students of all races, of all genders, of all abilities, and all religions. Let us continue to fight for the hearts and the minds of our students in our communities so that we can see, hear, and celebrate the best that each of us has to offer to each other in our communities. Let's continue to fight for a more perfect union. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, and let's fight.
All right. See, we have some powerful people with us today with a powerful message. And next up is a good friend and an author, Sharon Draper, who is a longtime educator from Cincinnati, Ohio, a National Teacher of the Year, who began writing in 1990 and has written many books that students read, including Hazelwood High Trilogy, the Jericho series, Copper Sun, Double Dutch, and some of her more recent books, Out of My Mind, which is a moving story about an 11-year-old girl with cerebral palsy. I can do this. Which is currently being made into a movie by Disney. Sharon was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Growing up, she played the piano and loved to read. In fact, by the age of 11, she read nearly every children's book in her local library and was given a special library card so she could check out adult books. Sharon earned her bachelor's in English from Pepperdine University, her master's in English from Miami University of Ohio, and began teaching in Cincinnati public schools. She is an award-winning author. The way she started writing, I think this is pretty interesting, is that one of her students challenged her to write something. And so she wrote a short story called One Small Torch, which was entered into a writing contest through Ebony magazine, and she won. She was awarded $5,000, and her story was published. And among those to congratulate her was the Roots author Alex Haley. She credited that letter to helping her realize that she too could be a writer. And in 2000, she retired from teaching to spend more time writing. Please join me in welcoming Sharon Draper.
Thank you so much. Wow, I forgot some of the stuff he said. I'm very honored to be here. And I want us all to feel the power of each other, to feel the power that we have. I don't want us to feel weak. I don't want us to feel helpless. I don't want us to feel like, oh, what are we going to do? We know what we're going to do. That's why we're here. We're going to do it because this is what we do. When the kids come in on the first day of school and you're like, oh, goodness, here they come. And, you know, what I'm going to do with this one, and I'm going to have to sit this one away from this one. I'm going to have to do this over here, and I'm going to have to do this. And oh, this one can't read, and this one reads too much, and this one's too tall, and this one's too short, and this one doesn't like that one. That is what we do because we're teachers, and we know how to do it, and they need us. When I was little, like when Alicia was little, there was a teacher who knew what we needed and gave us what we needed. There was a librarian who knew what we needed and gave us what we needed. My mother started taking me to the library when I was 3. By the time I was 5, I could go by myself. We lived like 3 doors from the library. By the time I was 10, I had read all the books on the elementary side of the library. Reading was the thing that saved me. Reading was the thing that made me who I was. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just liked stories. So I'm thinking about when I was a child, when I was in the first grade, when I was in the second grade, and I'm thinking about the people who are banning these books. What did they read in the first grade, in the second grade, in the third grade? What books did they go to? Surely they had libraries. They had classroom libraries. They had teachers. They had easy readers, and they had read books, and I bet they liked some of them. And I bet they were changed and influenced by some of them. Yes, they read books, and they're trying to stop our children from reading those books. No, we're not going to let that happen. When I started off with the card catalog, you guys don't even know what a card catalog is, do you? That's where they used to put the list of books in a little order, and you had to flip through. Anyway, I knew I was going to either grow up to be a librarian or a teacher, but I knew that I had something to say and that I had something to offer to the next generation. When I started writing, the very first book that I ever read that had an African-American character was a book called Mary Jane. It was by Dorothy Sterling. It was published in the 50s. And my librarian brought it to me, and she said, you might like this. And I'm going, who's this girl on the cover? I said, there was an African American girl on the cover of the book. It was the first one I had ever seen. I was probably 14 or 15. It was the first one I had ever seen. But that inspired me, and that gave me the idea that this is something that I can do, and I started finding more of them. By the time I got to my senior year of college, I spent the entire fourth quarter just doing Black literature because I'd finished everything else that I could. But I learned so much at the time, and I learned that there were people who did not have the opportunities that I had. They didn't have the reading opportunities. And I wanted to spread that. So that's why I became a teacher. That's why I encourage my kids to teach, to read, to write, to do, to share. And I'm still doing that. I run a book club. We've got, my whole world is revolved around books. And this is what I want you to do. Find the world that you live in and see how you can expand it with books. There are 9 zillion books here, and they are free. Take them home. Read them to your children. Pass them out to the neighborhood children. That kid next door that just throws rocks, say, hey, quit throwing rocks and pick up a book. Share the books with your neighborhood. Go to your neighborhood library. There's nobody, except for teachers, there's nobody cooler than a librarian, a library media specialist. They will tell you anything you need to know, any place you need to know, any information you need to know, and they will help you if you want to start a book club or a reading club. If we want our children to read, we have to read with them. We have to read for them. We have to read to them. When I finally figured out that there were Black writers and Black poets, and it was like I had finally found the thing that I had been missing in my life. I finally found okay, I'll tell you the story. There was a child who, when I used to do school visits, and I used to go and visit schools and talk to the kids, and hi, I'm an author, and this is a book, and the children would be given books, or the school would purchase books or something, but there were books available. And there was this little boy named Jojo who didn't get a book. And he came up to me, Miss, I can get that book thing you were talking about. It sounded all right. The book stuff you were talking about, I ain't never had no book. But, I didn't get one. I said, they passed out books to everybody. I ain't get one. Actually, I would like to have 2 because I want my mama to read it too. So I had 2 books left down in my bag. I pulled them out and said, here's one for you, here's one for your mama. And he went out of there going, I got the book, I got the book, I got the book, I got the book. That's the passion we want to give children. We want to give children the passion that books are magic, books are special, books will take us to new worlds, books will take us out of this. I can write a book about the blue sky and the green trees and the crowds and the children running. That's what you put in a book. Books are life. And this is what we do, and this is how we share. I'm going to talk just a little bit about Out of My Mind, which is the book that I have back there. I wrote Out of My Mind. It's been out almost 10 years now. And Out of My Mind is about a little girl who's like many of the kids that I taught, who has hidden blessings. They all have hidden blessings. Sometimes you got to dig deep to find those blessings. But anyway, the girl, the main character in this book, cannot walk, cannot talk, cannot sit up by herself, cannot feed herself, cannot do anything. She's severely physically disabled, and she's the smartest child in the class. But of course, nobody knows it because she can't talk, she can't walk, she can't feed herself. So the story is how she finds her voice, how she figures out how to communicate, how they say, wow, you got something to say. Wow, you're smart. Wow, you've got, and how her classmates and the larger world discovers her brilliance. Her school gets picked to go to the national quiz team, and because she's the smartest kid in the class, she's on the team because she answered all the questions right. Well, how are we going to do a quiz with her? Anyway, so the story of Out of My Mind and how she succeeds is Go to the movie center? Anyway, if you live in Daytona, you can come. We're having a movie day. We're going to just all go to the movies. But anyway, the point I want to get across to you is that books change lives. Books are magic. Books are necessary. People who are banning books read books in the 3rd grade. I know they did. So somehow, we who have good sense must fight against those who have lost their minds. And we must continue to advocate for children, advocate for books, advocate for literacy, advocate for ourselves, advocate for our jobs. We should never cease to fight, to advocate, to make a difference, because we are important. We are the changers of the world. Thank you very much.
I told you, powerful people with a powerful message. And so I do want to let everyone know that's here, before we get to our last speaker, both Alicia and Sharon have books here. They have tents right behind us here, or right behind you, and they will have their books, and they'll sign them for you as well. And they're free, yes. So I want to bring up our final speaker before we take any questions, Frederick C. Ingram. Fed is a talented musician who served as a music teacher in the Miami-Dade County schools. He was the Miami-Dade County Teacher of the Year and one of the state finalists in 2006. He was elected President of the United Teachers of Dade in 2013, Vice President of the Florida Education Association in 2015, President of the Florida Education Association in 2018, and then in 2020, he moved on to take over as the Secretary-Treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers. Fed is someone who talks a lot about how much public education influenced him, and he's an amazing leader, a great friend, and a graduate of the great Bethune-Cookman University, which was college back then.
Good afternoon. Now, y'all, listen, we got to talk back to me. I come from that kind of background. Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for being here. I talk a little loud because I'm a former band director. I'm deaf by trade. And I want everybody to know that this thing called teaching is magic. This thing called teaching is spiritual. This thing called teaching is a divine calling. This thing called teaching is necessary. This thing called reading is necessary. Mr. Governor, you can't ban books because you ban the mind. You can't ban books because you ban the freedom to educate every child on every block, from every station, from every zip code. That's what teachers do. That's what our public schools do. And so I want to thank all of my colleagues who are on this dais. I want to thank the superintendent for being here, one of the best superintendents in all the state of Florida. Give it up for Rocky Hanna. Also want to thank Alicia Williams, and thank you very much, Sharon Draper. And I saved the best for last because my colleague is here from Washington, D.C., Noah Candelaria, and he's from the National Education Association. And together we represent teachers and principals and those unsung heroes, those paraprofessionals, those secretaries, those security monitors, and all of us who make up the diaspora of education. And so why, on spring break, would a bunch of teachers come out and say, we're giving away 25,000 books? Because somewhere behind us in this Capitol, there are folks who want to take the right away to read what's interesting, to read what's necessary, to read what's out there, to make sure that we develop a more astute person to be in our society. That's why we're here. It is of no value to any legislator to ban a book for any reason. What we want to do in our public schools is not teach our students what to say and what to do. We want to fill them with all of the information, a comprehensive set of values and tools that they can use and make their own decisions. But there are people who are afraid of that. There are people who don't want you to read. the good writings of James Baldwin. And if you're a teacher, if you have never read those letters to a teacher, you better read it somewhere. You might want to read Booker T. Washington. And somewhere in the halls of this Capitol, they're saying, hey, don't read that stuff. You might want to read Langston Hughes, because Langston Hughes knew what it was about to say, I too sing America. I too sing America. That's for every black boy and every Hispanic kid and every gay kid and every kid who is trying to find themselves in our public schools, pre-K through our university system. You can't take away the freedom to learn, the freedom to choose who you are, the freedom to love who you want to love. That is who we are as a society, and that's what our public schools represent. And time and again, we have teachers out there who are putting the keys on the desk in Florida, saying, I'm done. I'm done here because I can't do what I came to do. Time and again, we have young people saying, I'm not going into education. I'm not going into education because there are those in this hall back here and in the governor's mansion who want to say, you're going to do it our way or the highway. That's not how education works. That's not what we do in our public schools. There are those who are closing libraries. How do you close a library and then tell a kid that they can't read? How do you not give a book to a kid and then say this kid is challenged because they don't understand words? How do we know about brain development as young people? The more you read, the more you talk to our young people about anything, the more educated they are and ready and prepared for kindergarten. We know all these things. They have been defined. And we have those who want to legislate their way through our classrooms. And for the Florida Education Association and my president, Andrew Spar, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for the magic that you do every day. If you're a teacher out there, give yourselves a big round of applause. If you know a teacher, give them a big round of applause. If you know a cafeteria worker, give them a big round of applause. If you know a bus driver out there, give them a big round of applause, because that is who we are. We care about our kids. Guess who's the most important person at 5 o'clock in the morning? It's that school bus driver. It's that school bus driver who is disrespected, who is underserved, who we want to have kicked the tires, done all his inspection, make sure that he puts on a seatbelt, catches every light to get my daughter home the same way she left home. That is what the educational village is. And when you start to ban books, then you have an uneducated populace. We have those people who cannot read, those people who cannot discern for themselves, those people who want to ask you to do something for them instead of doing something for themselves. So legislators, we are not afraid. We're going to be here. Teach our students about all of the authors. These beautiful authors that are here today. We've got a homegirl from Florida, Zora Neale Hurston. She wrote a great book called Their Eyes Are Watching God. She also said, you better learn to find your voice, because if you don't find your voice, they will kill you and tell the story that you enjoyed it. That's who Zora Neale Hurston was. And so we must keep fighting. We must keep fighting for our children. Unfortunately, our teachers have to be out here on their spring break, giving away, for a good reason, 25,000 books. I don't want that to not be heard. The Florida Education Association and its affiliates between the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers are coming to Leon County for this official Florida read-in. That's a good thing. That is a good thing, and that is who we are as people, because we want every student to understand that there's something that you can find in your books. There's something that you can find in understanding and reading. And so I'll leave you with this. Our teachers are under duress. Our classrooms are under fire. There is an attack on our public schools, and we need your help. We need your help so that we can have the freedom to teach. We need your help so that our students can have the freedom to read. Every school system, every politician should be giving out 25,000 books in every single zip code in the state of Florida. Unfortunately, that they are not. So we need your help. If you're a parent, if you're a dad, if you're a mom, if you're an uncle, if you're a grandmother, if you're a person who cares about the kid across the street, write your legislator and let them know that public schools are important. Let them know that books are important. Every single book. Because a kid and a teacher can decide what's important to their lives. And we can do that without it being politicized or legislated in our classrooms. We need your help. We need your help if you're a stakeholder, if you're a business person, if you're a healthcare person, if you care about our students. Join in this fight with our teachers to protect all of our students in every zip code in the state of Florida. And we're going to start right here in Leon County with the Florida Education Association giving away, one more time, 25,000 free books. So come on out and get them. Thank you very much, Mr. Spar. Thank you to your team. Thank you to the National Education Association. My name is Frederick Ingram. I am the Secretary-Treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers, and we represent 1.7 million members across this country. And it is my honor to be here, not as the Secretary-Treasurer, not as the former president for Florida Education Association, not as the former president of United Teachers of Day, not as a former high school band director, but as daddy. It is my honor to be here for my children because public schools were good for them. And my 17-year-old goes to school right here in Leon County, and I want her teachers to have every single resource that they need to teach her so that she can be the best possible person that she can be. And so I'm here mainly as dad today to say thank you to all of our teachers and to say to our community that we need your help because all of our students deserve to be held in high regard. Thank you so much.
So we'll take any questions that anyone may have.